Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive right freaking now. Bob Joyce joins us in studio. How you doing, sir?
Happy Ides of March Day, boys.
Ides of March?
Beware.
Yep, it's 15th of March.
Oh.
You got any
That's
news?
the music.
Oh, that's what that
that's
was.
the music.
That's what
Yeah,
that
Ides
was.
of
I didn't even know that.
I thought this was the Bob Joyce straight up. Like if Bob Joyce was in a afternoon police drama, this would how he'd be rolling up.
Perfect.
He's got one of those cop cars that you got to put the light on top. You know, it's hooked up to the cigarette lighter.
What am I driving?
Oh, probably a white Plymouth.
Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah, I'm
There you
thinking
go.
Starsky and Hutch.
There you go.
All right, so what news you got for us? We got Vermont for the UConn women. It's the 215 seed. We're down there in the Seattle regional playing the first couple at stores. We're used to that. I don't look ahead anymore. I learned my lesson last year with old Teddy Allen in New Mexico. I'm not looking past Vermont. But since you're in the studio, talk about the region, just the bracket for the women. I know you liked it right when it came out, but now that you've looked at it for 3 days, you know a little bit more about all the teams that are involved. How much do you like it?
I like it even more because you've got a Virginia Tech team who's the top seed. Congratulations to Kenny Brooks. Fantastic coach. Was outstanding at James Madison. Has done a remarkable job at Virginia Tech. But they don't have any experience as being a number one seed, having the bullseye on your back.
Yep.
So that's number one. The number 3 seed, Ohio State.
Yeah,
They
tell me
can
about
score
them.
the basketball. We saw that in the Big Ten tournament. They came back from 17-18 down and beat Indiana. I mean, they average 80 points a game. They can shoot the 3. But the question is, do they have enough from a defensive standpoint? They're a lot like Iowa in that regard. They can score the ball, but can they stop you? So that could be interesting if they meet in the Sweet 16. North Carolina, I think they're okay with that. They should be able to take care of them. But then you get to our bracket in stores. Vermont, they should have little or no trouble with. America East winners, they had 3 very different games in their tournament, but the last game was against Albany, was 38-36.
That's the final score or halftime?
Yes. No, that was final score. And talking with Gino on the coaches show, Chris Daly is scouting Vermont. And Gino saw the score, and he goes to Chris Daly, was it worth watching that game? She goes, not really.
Wow.
But they've got a couple of kids from Indiana that are halfway decent. They've got a kid right from Shelburne, Vermont, who's a freshman or sophomore, their number 3 scorer, who's not bad. They got a ton of rebounds against Albany. They just didn't cash in. I think they had 12 second chance points, and they had like 18 offensive rebounds against Albany. But then you've got an interesting 7-10. You don't think of Baylor as a 7.
Yeah.
But they're not the same team since Kim Mulkey left. Finished 19-12. Nikki Collin is the head coach in her 3rd year down in Waco. Sarah Andrews, pretty good three-point shooter. The only holdover from the Mulkey days is Caitlin Bickle, who's a 6'1 grad student. Averages like 10 points a game. And then they've got a freshman who's not bad. And then Alabama is a three-point shooting team. They shoot 39% from 3. They have 239 steals for Baylor. For Alabama, they shoot about 38% from 3, score 70 points a game, give up 60. And the big thing about these two teams, between the two teams, they have 16 transfers. Baylor has 7, Alabama has 9.
Getting used to that.
So, look, the Huskies, they're going to be an interesting team. Everybody's, been sitting on them all year, kind of sleeping on them because of the injuries, but I've seen some, articles where, hey, the whole X factor of this now is AZ Fudd. If AZ Fudd is productive, and if she's on the floor, she's going to open up things for the post players and Lou. So it comes down to making shots. If Dorka and Aaliyah play the way they did in the Big East tournament, I like their chances getting to Dallas. At least the Elite 8. If they're not in the Elite 8, I would be disappointed. But they're in good shape. And this is a very favorable bracket to the Huskies.
As far as some of the other brackets, let's look at South Carolina and the Greenville bracket.
No problem.
They look like they're going to breeze right through that. Tell me why South Carolina continues to be such a powerhouse.
Well, Dawn knows how to recruit. They're a veteran team that's very mature. It's like a lot of the UConn teams of old. The Stewie teams, like junior, senior year. The Tina Charles Maya Moore teams, the 0102 team. They've just got a lot of veterans who know how to win. And that senior class is a very special class. I mean, it's Aaliyah Boston, Bree Beal, Zaya Cook, and one or two others that have goals to try to cement South Carolina in their history books, not only being a repeat champion, but also an undefeated winner. They're trying to do both for the first time since UConn did it in 2016. And that would be their legacy. And they've got depth. They've got size. I think one of the big X factors for them is Camila Cardozo, who played so well against UConn. They get after it on the glass and make you pay for it. They're going to be a tough out. There are very few teams in the country that could beat them.
6'7" junior.
Yeah, and she started her career at Syracuse. Wasn't that big a factor last year because they had a little more size last year before they graduated, but they're a dangerous team. They're like a lot of the UConn teams of old. It's South Carolina and everybody else.
I really feel like this year's conference schedule for the women has been the toughest for them, regardless of the injuries that they had to deal with, but just the caliber of teams that the Big East brought to the table this year, more so than anything the AAC ever presented. I would go back to probably the last year of the Big East when Notre Dame was in the league in those kind of days. Yep. We're looking at 5 teams now in the field. UConn, I've got them slated as a Sweet 16 faux show. I'm putting Nova in because I'm still a Maddie Siegrist fan. I think Creighton can do it again because they got Notre Dame possibly, who's all banged up, and Olivia Miles might not be playing.
Right.
Am I off on those two teams? And I think Marquette can get a win as well.
Well, Marquette plays USF, and then the winner of that game gets South Carolina. So,
that's why I said a win.
A win. Jose Fernandez's team, who won the American regular season title, stunk up the joint against Wichita State in the quarterfinals.
I think that's going to be a good game.
So that will be a very good game. Yeah. Villanova, I have reservations. They were lucky to beat DePaul in the Big East tournament. They were lucky to beat Creighton in the Big East tournament. And then, let's forget the fourth quarter. They trailed UConn by 25 points. It can't just be Maddie Siegrist. If it's just Maddie Siegrist, they're one and done. They need help from Lucy Olson. They need help from Christina Dulce. They need help from Maddie Burke. They need other people to score other than Maddie Siegrist. If they do that, yeah, they could get to the Sweet 16. After that, not so sure. Creighton, they're a funny team. They got a lot of kids back from their Elite 8 team last year. If they make threes, if they make 12, 13 threes a game, they're in it. The question is for them, can they hang on the glass? Marquette, that Marquette USF game is going to be a pretty good one. That's going to be, I think, a low-scoring, grinded-out type of affair. Chloe Murata, Jordan King, I like their chances. And then let's not forget St. John's. Purdue plays St. John's. I'm not sure if it's tonight or tomorrow night. One of the playing games, or the first 4 games, excuse me.
Yeah, I messed that up all day.
Right, and that'll be in Columbus, Ohio, wherever they play. Unlike the men, the winner just stays on site and plays the higher seed. St. John's, look, if Jayla Everett and Kadeja Bailey go off and get a little help, I think they could beat Purdue.
That'd be huge if they win that.
Yeah, and they're lucky to get in. I mean, we thought they might get in, and then with some of the upsets we saw in conference tournament play, we thought, they're going to lose a bid. But then things stabilized. Columbia got upset in the Ivy League, so that helped. So here we are. St. John's is in. Now they got to go out and prove it. And it's a great going-away present for Bailey. Bailey has played the most games ever of any St. John's player, male or female. She's put in a lot of hard work, and they've had a lot of lean years. So to see them get back in the tournament for the first time in a while is good. So the Big East, 5 teams. I think we get a couple of wins out of the Big East.
Talking to Bob Joyce, play-by-play voice of UConn men's hockey, UConn women's basketball, also does a bunch of work for us as well on all the different sports. Indiana is the number 1 seed in Greenville, 2. They don't have an opponent. They're awaiting a playing game. Lost to Ohio State, lost to Iowa, I think, 3 games ago.
They've lost 2 of 3.
Tell me how good they can be going into their bracket and going through them.
Mackenzie Holmes has really upped her game this season. She's a good post player, like 6'3", 6'4". Big piece of their puzzle. Grace Berger's the other one. Outstanding mid-range game for her. That's her thing. And they got a transfer, and I don't remember where. Oregon. Who's a pretty good 3-point shooter. Yeah, I mean, they won the Big East regular season title for the first time in like 25, 30 years this year. And they ran into a buzzsaw. Great game. Both games against Iowa were fantastic. The second one was a buzzer beater. by Caitlin Clark. All right, that happens at home. And then they blew the big lead to Ohio State. Okay, that happens. But Utah's a 2. To me, there's still a bit of a question mark. Who's the 4? Villanova's the 4. Who's the 3? LSU. That's the interesting part of this whole bracket.
Coach Mulkey.
LSU. Yep.
Yeah.
Wacko
Kim
coach
Mulkey.
Kim Mulkey.
Love her.
Angel Reese, legit player. They get after it on the glass. But other than the SEC, they really haven't been tested. So they got off to a fantastic start playing a bunch of nobodies. I don't know. And then they blew a big lead to Tennessee in the SEC semifinals. They're, I think, the X factor in that region. They could win it. But, yeah, and I don't know enough about Utah. I mean, yeah, Utah beat Stanford. They split with Stanford. They got bounced out in the Pac-12 quarterfinals. I think the Pac-12's loaded. A lot of good teams in the Pac-12. And I'm shocked Stanford did not win the regular season or the tournament, and here they are as a 1 seed. Go figure.
All right, give us a scouting, or not a scouting report, but an injury report for UConn women. I think the new one now, for me at least, my biggest worry is Aubrey Griffin and how well her back is doing and everything else that goes with it.
Well, as Gino said, if we're going to get one healthy body back, we're going to lose another one to injury. It just works that way this year, and that's the way it worked. AZ came back. Now Aubrey's got back spasms. From what he said Monday on the coach's show, she has not reacted well to treatment, so her status for the weekend is a big who knows as of right now. I don't think they'll need her Saturday. Monday going forward, yes, I think she'll be a big piece. So that's the one thing they're waiting on. And I think the last 2 weeks has done a world of good for Lou. She's got a bum right knee. And I think you see in some ways she shoots the ball, but she's still going to give. I mean, she was 14 points in the Big East tournament.
Was that what it was in the semis where she kind of keeled over? It looked like a stomach thing.
No, she took an elbow in the chest and had the wind knocked out of her.
That was wild.
Yeah, that's all that was. Thankfully, that's all that was.
Let's talk a little baseball. Your Boston Red Sox, Corey Kluber is your opening day starter.
Weird.
They got off to a great start in spring training. They're now 10-5. Your thoughts on what their rotation
Honestly,
might look like?
I haven't even paid attention to baseball. It's going to be hard to get motivated with the lack of moves they made. Okay, if they start winning early, I'll watch them. But honestly, Rob, I haven't really watched a minute. I've watched more Mets spring training. I watched the day.
I watched a lot of Mets.
I watched the day Max Scherzer pitched with the clock, and he was working on manipulating it.
You're watching a couple of Hall of Famers there. I mean, I love Corey Kluber. He's not going to the Hall of Fame, but Verlander and Scherzer are both going to the Hall of Fame. They're amazing to watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and I like the way that the veterans have really, especially Scherzer, just working to get used to using the pitch clock.
Right.
How to manipulate it. Guy calls a timeout. The game that I watched, I think it was his first game. Guy called timeout, which is fine. I mean, he's not even the batter's not even in the box yet. He's already back in the set position.
Yep.
Love it.
Dude,
I love
slow
it.
down.
No, he takes it seriously.
But yeah, he
takes
does.
his craft
It
seriously.
becomes
He
a mind
studied
game.
the rules
Yep.
in and out, and he's like, listen, as soon as I'm ready and that clock is ticking, I get to pitch.
Yeah. And
Bring him back to quick pitch. Thank you, Rob Manfred.
And you mentioned, yeah, exactly. And you also mentioned this, the fact that you're going to be more stolen bases. I mean, if the pitch clock comes down to 3-2-1, guys are just going to take off before the ball is even delivered because
they know he's got to go home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it'll be fun.
It was a crappy sports weekend last weekend. After we were spoiled at Walter Camp, hanging out with Tony Dorsett and Caleb Williams.
I heard the Dorsett interview. It's like I got in my car and I heard him talking about, and I didn't know who it was at first. First about LT, and then Carl Banks, and then he's talked about Phil Simms. He'll turn it over. Well, maybe that was early in his career because the Giants had their way with him in the mid '80s. But anyhow, then I realized, is that who I think it is? And then sure enough, it was. That was so cool.
No, it was.
Listen to Dorsett.
That's a bucket list for me as far as the last 25 years.
Bet.
Listen to that.
Tremendous cat, too.
Not only that one, you should probably listen to the Tony Baselli one. Had some things to say about Tom Coughlin I thought were very interesting.
Absolutely.
Both those are on the podcast.
I thought Hugh Green was amazing.
I agree. I mean, that was just the high point.
Yep.
And then it went to a low point. Then I'm talking Big East basketball semifinals, low point. Then I saw our friends over there at Trinity women's basketball team. They lost in the D3s. Then I saw our friends in West Hartford, St. Joe's. They lost in the D3s. And I was like, well, at least we got men's hockey over there at Toscano Fieldhouse and UMass Lowell. They're a bunch of jokers. Didn't score until the last minute. 2-1 final. Thanks for coming. End of the season for the Ice Bus. What happened, Bob Joyce?
The UMass Lowell goalie stood on his head.
It always does. You knew that was going to happen.
I'm sure Adam said the same thing. It was going to be a low-scoring affair. Lowell got 2 goals in the first. One was a cross-ice feed, doorstep bang-in. I don't even remember if Sergeyev even went to poke check it. But then the second goal, he bobbled a rebound. He was going to go poke check it away. John Spetz, one of his defensemen, and a Lowell player were skating right by in a mix-up right next to the side of the net. And I think Spetz got him enough where he went to go reach for it, and he fanned on it. I came in for Lowell and poked it in. And it was 2-0 in the first. And then Sergeyev made a nice stop on a breakaway mid-second. If they went 3-0, it was over. But I mean, Lowell had, 9 shots the last 2 periods? They played a defensive-minded game. Huskies had a lot of chances.
That's a frustrating
they had
game,
at least 5 or 6 grade A chances. Matthew Wood got absolutely robbed at the doorstep on one play. But yeah, goalies, you get a hot goalie. That's the difference maker in hockey, and that was the difference on Saturday.
Tell me about Ryan. Is it Torberg.
Yeah.
Yep. Signed a almost $1 million deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Good for him.
3-year deal. Yep, good for him. And the Maple Leaf people very happy with the way Cav and the program developed Torberg. Fastest skater the Huskies have. He's a goal scorer. He's got some good offensive moves. Good for him. And Roman Canal got a look. San Jose's minor league team picked him up to a contract today.
Big fan.
Nice.
He's done at UConn. I mean, he has no more eligibility left. But some of the guys that just finished up their eligibility or are juniors that have, are drafted are going to go. Matthew Wood is not going anywhere. He'll be a top 10 pick this summer, top 15 maybe.
Okay.
But he's got to bulk up some more. But the kid can play.
And he's back.
Mike thinks he may be back for 2 more years.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. So they've got some things to build on. They've got some parts to replace. They'll hit the transfer portal. Speaking of which, have you seen how many guys are in the transfer portal already, guys and gals already? It's amazing that this is even happening as the tournament's just beginning. Wait till the tournament's over before people can go on the transfer portal. That's nuts.
You got to beat the next person.
I know you do.
It's a marketplace, and if you're not in it now, then you're going to be in the back of the line.
That's just so tough for teams in the tournament. Trying to focus on the tournament and get ready for those games, and suddenly you got to be looking at next year already.
ABCs, Bob.
Always be Cruton. I know.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Let me try to. Always be Cruton, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks for coming in. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and do Dibbles and Bits brought to you by Tire Depot.